When one of Lex Luthor's oldest evil schemes threatens Metropolis, the only person who can stop it is Lex himself. What'll happen next? We'll hop into the pages of Superman issue number 12 and find out what happens next together, shall we? So then, picking up from where the last issue left off, Dr. Graff and the Luthor Revenge Squad had finally completed their plan to flood Metropolis with a deadly new version of kryptonite gas that was every bit as fatal to regular humans as it's always been to Superman. This basically means that the Man of Steel, who is still very much hurt from the battle in the last issue, can't actually leave Supercorp lest risk his own life. Luckily for him, he doesn't have to, as Lex Luthor has gotten his old superhero costume out of mothballs, and is now vowing to save the day himself in Superman's stead, especially if it means showing up Graft and getting to knock around his evil mother Letitia, the only member of the squad who actually managed to escape before all the fighting started. Now this doesn't mean that Superman is going to be sitting on his hands for the whole issue, however. He decides now is actually the perfect time to take charge of Supercorp and motivate their staff, including Luthor's own daughter, to try and find a way to de-weaponize the kryptonite fog and save the day. All of this actually ends up being a pretty big character moment for Lena Luthor too, who, remember, didn't actually think much of her deadbeat dad when all of this started, but now she's actually seeing him risk his own life to try and save the city and put right what once went wrong. Even if the whole deadly kryptonite fog thing is Luthor just cleaning up one of his own messes. And hey, speaking of which, we actually flash back and see how Luthor got hooked up with Grafton Farm in the first place. And wouldn't you know it, the answers actually end up taking us back all the way to Smallville. We see a young Lex rooting around in the Kent family cornfield wherein he discovers his first shard of green kryptonite. Finding this stuff absolutely changed Luthor's life. None of it existed on any periodic table on Earth, and he took it as a sign that he was meant for better things, ready to leave this podunk small town behind and start a new life in the big city, which is indeed exactly what he did. And as we learned from previous issues, Luthor actually tried to be a hero for a little bit during those first years in Metropolis, wherein he would end up actually coming to blows with Dr. Farm and Mr. Graff. What changed in their relationship, though, you might be asking? How did they go from rivals to partners? Well, wouldn't you know it was all about kryptonite once again. It seemed that Graft and Farm were running their own experiments on the special little space rock, and Luthor desperately wanted to be a part of it, even when doing so meant compromising what little morals he actually did have at the time. And here's the real kicker: once Lex found out everything he wanted to know about kryptonite, he cut Graft and Farm loose like they were yesterday's garbage, and well, they pretty much never forgave him, did they? In fact, this is kind of a recurring theme in a lot of Luthor's relationship over the years. As we hear from Letitia herself, she still has a major bone to pick with Luthor, saying that once he came to the city, it was only a matter of time before he wormed his way inside her young company and took it over from the inside, before eventually deciding to jettison Mommy Not-So-Dearest as well. And also, hey, hats off to this absolutely wonderful visual storytelling right here, as Luthor in his good guy suit, heavily inspired by Superman, does battle against his mother, who has donned his classic green and purple war suit. Again, he's literally fighting his past right now. Now, while all of this fighting is going on over at Supercorp, Superman figures the best way to stop the kryptonite gas threat is to drain it of all its dangerous radiation, making it a lot less lethal. Well, not for him, but lethal to humans. To do this, they actually offer up a really nice callback by deciding to have the parasite, Rudy Jones, actually suck up all the radiation, which he's totally game for too, by the way, calling it the best free meal he's ever had. The final part of the plan, though, is all up to Lex, though. He has to be the one to actually disperse the killer clouds, but it's not easy for him for two big reasons. One, he has to leave himself open to an almost certainly fatal attack by his mother, and the other, that by doing this, he is actually helping Superman defeat yet another one of his evil schemes. And it would seem that despite Lex Luthor growing by leaps and bounds as a person, he is still at the end of the day just a little bit egotistical. Of course, Superman not only manages to save Lex and his mother, but he's also very magnanimous in victory, saying, "Hey Lex, old buddy, old pal, don't act like I beat you this time, it's more like we both beat you together this time." And with that, the day is saved and the Lex Luthor Revenge Squad is sent off to jail. Clark figures they can't just lock them all up in strikers, lest they risk another shower stabbing for Lex. Yes, his old friends and even his family really do hate him that much, so instead they opt to build brand new off-site cells for them thanks to Supercorp. Now all of this sure does feel like a case closed, happy ending, but Superman just can't shake the thought that keeps eating at him. Why did Lex Luthor's foes choose to come and attack him right now of all times? Well, it could very well have something to do with Brainiac and the escaping Lobo we see as the comic comes to a close. And so that was Superman issue number 12, everybody, and overall I thought it was a super strong strong ending to this arc in terms of both action but also characterization. It was fun to see Superman outside of his comfort zone and really beginning to embrace running Supercorp. Clark never thought he'd make a good CEO, but he's shocked to see how much he actually likes directing people to use their special skills for the greater good. Basically, he brings out the Superman inside of everyone and is able to make lemonade out of the lemons that is Luthor, putting all of this on him when the series started. And hey, speaking of Luthor, Lex once again shows that in another life, in another world, he probably would have made a damn fine hero if not for his ego or tendency to leave people high and dry. Next up, we have the big House of Brainiac event, which I think should be great, considering all the super cool build-up we've seen in this book. As far as this issue, I would give it a very much deserved 8.5 out of 10. Hey there everyone, it's your old pal Cape Joel again, thanking you so much for watching to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, why not check out my Amazon link down in the description. Yes, that's right, the Cape Joel channel officially has its own Amazon storefront now. You can pick up a comic or anything else for that matter, and if you did, you'd really be helping me in the channel. So with that out of the way everyone, I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.